Yo, how's it going everybody? It's Sketch and welcome back to the channel, and I hope everybody had a safe and happy holidays and happy new year everybody. That's crazy, 2021, we're here. On today's episode we're going to be taking a look at Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition for the PS3. This is a vertical shoot 'em up developed by G-Rev and published by Sega and Rising Star Games, releasing in arcades in 2005 and was released on the Dreamcast in 2006. Also touted as one of the last Dreamcast releases, even though there was a couple things after that, but it helped sales. The version we're going to look at today is the high definition remaster for the PS3 that was released in 2012. And after seeing this on Classic Game Room years ago, I had to track this down, and I finally found it somewhat recently. And after playing it, I noticed it felt a lot like Ikaruga in a lot of ways, just with a helicopter. And that's not a bad thing at all, because that game also rules. Though before getting into all that, let's take a look at the story real quick. In an alternate timeline of World War II, the story centers around the ongoing conflict of the Union and the Empire. After both sides seemingly reach a ceasefire compromise, they unveil their own secret arsenals of new technology and advanced weaponry. The battle wages on, and you pilot a heavily armed helicopter, fighting under the Empire through 5 levels of grueling aerial combat. Gameplay wise, as mentioned earlier, it feels a lot like Ikaruga, especially its port for the Nintendo GameCube, in a few regards, such as how it's a game where until you learn the mechanics and become fluent with them, the game is just gonna body you over and over again, even on the seemingly simple sections. Gameplay also revolves around piloting your chopper through 5 stages in the hopes of not getting shot down. You have a stock machine gun which you can fire on a horizontal swivel, allowing you to sweep across the playfield while stationary. This along with your screen clearing bombs and possible 3 options being the rapid fire, heavy cannon, and rocket launcher will assist you in getting through the game's 5 stages, which at first doesn't sound all that difficult, but then you quickly realize this game is no joke, and even on the easy setting will offer up a challenge. The other aspect that plays alongside Ikaruga is how the bosses have to be defeated on a timer and also have a pretty hefty life bar, so finding the weak spots is key to downing bosses fast enough to get bonuses or just finish the encounter in general. This is also where the option and learning how to use them effectively also comes into the picture. Your options work on a cooldown, which depending on which of the 3 you have, the strongest having the longest cooldown. Effective use of your option is paramount to how much damage you can dish out while it's active, and this at times puts in more work than the bomb does. Long story short, whenever the option can be activated and you're coming up on a group of enemies, call it in and let it do its thing. Graphics wise, G-Rev Studios developed this on the Sega Naomi arcade hardware, and this game looks pretty good. Environments are colorful and the enemies have a lot of detail, especially the ones in the latter half where the enemies are taking up nearly the whole screen at times, and it all runs pretty well for the most part too. When it does get hectic, it's a little bit hard to keep track of enemy bullets since they look so similar to yours, and when you actually take a hit, everything slows down, so that's how you can tell for sure that you've basically lost a life, because once you slow down, it explode. And this is one of those games also where it's one hit and that's a life gone. You have the option of increasing your stocks for each play, but you don't get more than 2 continues until you log more time with the arcade mode. The New Order mode also expands the arcade viewpoint to a 16:9 ratio and also zooms in the playfield by quite a large margin. The HD mode also improves the original pixel art by reworking shadows, textures, and backgrounds. Particle and smoke effects here also look pretty sharp. Sound wise, the original mode soundtrack has some bangers on it, and these tunes will get stuck in your head more than likely. If that weren't enough, the New Order mode actually features a rearranged and remixed soundtrack as well, which is also pretty tight. Though there are a few of the original compositions that stood out a little bit more than some of the remixes, but across the board, the tunes were fun, and also the sound effects slap like a salmon swimming upstream. Also, we'll say the original boss theme for the Naval Destroyer was a highlight amongst everything else as far as the music. There's also a fair bit of voice synth throughout the game's campaign as well. Even though there's not a whole lot of dialogue per se, there's a lot of radio chatter, and the voice synth for the stuff that is there is also pretty crispy, running in tandem with all the other audio. So the sound department here is also pretty solid for the most part. Overall, Under Defeat HD Deluxe Edition has a hell of a lot to offer to shoot 'em up fans, and it's got enough similarities with other prolific shooters and differences to appeal to newcomers and veterans alike. The HD version also comes with the respective soundtracks for both modes, and it's a fairly challenging game that you can sink a pretty good amount of time into figuring out its nuances. This also again is one of those games that I'm surprised does not come up more often in shoot 'em up discussions, but it's definitely worth checking out if you can find a copy around somewhere. Under Defeat gets an 8.5 out of 10, and it's highly recommended to vertical shoot 'em up fans and those that want to have something a little bit different to play, even though it looks similar to other staples of the genre. This one definitely does not disappoint. And I thank you again if you made it this far in the video. If you find these videos helpful, that's awesome. I'm glad you can use it as a resource. Check back often. We'll have some more reviews and commentaries coming up in the near future. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy and stay safe out there.